What if the conventional understanding of illness is fundamentally flawed? What if your body isn't, a passive victim of disease, but actually an active, conscious co-creator?
And what if what we label as sickness is simply a process, maybe even one you've inadvertently chosen?
Exactly. Today, we're going to unpack a perspective that, well, it challenges pretty much everything you might believe about well-being.
We're embarking on a really unique and profoundly insightful exploration. We're diving into excerpts from The Way to Health,
Which was the very last book, dictated by the entity known as Seth, channeled through the renowned trance medium Jane Roberts.
Right. And the context is just extraordinary.
It really is. What makes this deep dive so uniquely poignant, so powerful, is when this book was created. It was during Jane Roberts' own severe, ultimately fatal illness back in 1984.
So our mission today is really to distill the core message from these pages. And that message is about the radical, sometimes uncomfortable connection between our deepest beliefs, our emotions, and ultimately our physical health.
We'll guide you through this extraordinary material, aiming to give you a shortcut, maybe, to understanding this paradigm-shifting view.
Yeah, expect some surprising facts, very intimate details of a really personal struggle, and some profound insights that definitely challenge conventional wisdom. Hopefully, it'll keep you absolutely hooked.
Okay, so let's unpack this properly. To really get the weight and wisdom inside The Way to Health, you first need to understand the people at its core.
Absolutely.
First, there's Jane Roberts, known affectionately as Rubert throughout the Seth material.
Right, that was Seth's name for her aspect within the sessions.
For over 2 decades, she was the conduit, wasn't she? The famous trance medium who brought Seth's pretty expansive teachings into our world.
And by many accounts, including the source material itself, she was seen as someone with immense intuition, deep spiritual understanding, often considered, truly enlightened.
Yet here she was, battling this debilitating illness during the very creation of this specific book. That's a paradox right there.
It is. And then, of course, there's Seth himself. He describes himself not really as a disembodied spirit, like you might traditionally think, but as an energy personality essence.
Right, like a consciousness outside our usual framework.
Exactly. Think of him as this highly evolved consciousness operating outside our physical linear time constraints. And he was able somehow to communicate directly through Jane's trance state.
And his main role generally was providing this huge multidimensional framework for understanding reality and our role in creating it.
But in The Way to Health, he really zoomed in, focusing that vast knowledge directly on the intricate relationship between consciousness and physical well-being, because of Jane's situation, obviously.
The third crucial figure here, and maybe the unsung hero of this particular work, is Robert Butts, or Joseph, as Seth often called him.
Her husband, yeah.
Jane's devoted husband.
Yeah.
And it was his meticulous, often really painstaking work that preserved these sessions for us.
He recorded every single word, often, as he describes, under immense personal stress, watching his wife struggle.
His daily notes, which are woven throughout the dictated text in the book, provide this unique, raw, deeply intimate record.
Yeah.
You get Jane's physical state, their daily hospital experiences.
Yeah.
It's quite something.
It really is. It provides this very human backdrop to these, profound spiritual teachings.
Which brings us right back to that central paradox, the elephant in the room, really, that many readers and Robert himself grappled with.
If Seth and Rupert had such profound wisdom, such deep understanding of reality and healing, why did Rupert, Jane Roberts, get so sick and die relatively young at 55?
It's a challenging question, isn't it? For anyone coming to this material.
Definitely. And this book, The Way to Health, born directly from that paradox, is essentially Seth's nuanced, deeply personal explanation. It's not just philosophy, it's a response to a real, lived struggle.
The context of its creation is it's extraordinary. It adds so much depth. The Way to Health was dictated during Jane's 21-month hospitalization.
21 months, that's not a short stay.
Not at all. It started in April 1983, continued relentlessly until just before she passed in September 1984.
And Robert's notes, they're filled with comments about the very great pressure they were often under during these sessions.
Can you imagine trying to channel cosmic truths while dealing with the realities of a hospital room? Constant pain, nurses coming in and out.
Interruptions, yeah. It must have been incredibly difficult. And it creates this uniquely raw, personal reading experience.
Totally different from the earlier Seth books.
Exactly. Unlike his previous works, which often soared into these grand cosmic truths about existence, this book, as the foreword notes, kind of no longer dwells on the true facts of the universe.
It grounds itself, doesn't it?
Very much so. It focuses instead on the mentality one should hold while living in the world: faith, hope, and love.
Which makes it arguably maybe the most accessible of the Seth books.
I think so. It feels deeply personal, intimate, and full of emotion.
And those daily notes from Robert, integrated right into the text, are what make it feel so immediate, so present.
Yeah, he details their daily routine, the staff, Jane's fluctuating condition, the moments of hope, the despair.
He even talks about inventing his own shorthand just to keep up with Seth's dictation speed.
Amidst all the chaos, it's really a testament to their dedication bringing this material through under the most trying circumstances.
It transforms it, doesn't it? From what could have been a detached philosophical work into this profoundly human story.
Absolutely, and it's this unique intimacy, this deeply personal context that makes Seth's core assertions about health and disease all the more, well, groundbreaking.
Okay, so let's dive into that. Seth's revolutionary view of health and what we call disease. His core assertion right off the bat is pretty startling. He says the way to health is extremely easy.
Easy.
Easy. He clarifies it's the natural, easiest way of doing things, which immediately goes against, well, everything most of us are taught. We think health is hard work, a battle.
It certainly does. Our rational minds, they love complexity, don't they? We assume important things must be difficult, require huge effort.
Right. Problem-solving mode.
Exactly. Seth contrasts this with our tendency to problem solve, which often makes us overlook simple, natural solutions. He even says the idea that the answer to the problem lies within the problem itself seems ridiculous, counterintuitive to that rational mind.
But he argues the ease of health is demonstrated everywhere in nature, like a tree growing or a river flowing.
They don't try to do it, they just do. It's inherent.
And he paints this really beautiful picture of what he calls inherent biological optimism.
Yeah, that's a key phrase.
He says all natural phenomena, plants reaching for sun, animals adapting, weather patterns, they all cooperate under this basic premise that the future is guaranteed.
An unwavering optimism built into nature.
Filled with the promise of not only survival, but of beauty and achievement. And he stresses this deep sense of promise is innate in every part of the body, every atom, cell, organ.
It's not something external we need to find or cultivate. It's built in. Our design specification, you might say.
Which leads us right to Seth's radical reimagining of disease.
Okay, brace yourself for this one. He declares, quite starkly, basically, there is no such thing as disease.
Wow.
He says, instead, there is only process.
Process. So what we perceive as disease is?
Simply an exaggeration or overextension of completely normal bodily processes.
An exaggeration, okay.
He uses viruses as an example. They aren't external invaders like we usually think. He states, there are no killer viruses, only viruses that have gone beyond their usual boundaries within the body.
So they're reacting to some internal signal. They're not the primary cause.
Exactly. They're part of the system, but they've been pushed out of their normal role or location by something else.
So this implies illness isn't random. It's not punishment. You're not just a victim.
Right. It's an unfortunate extension or exaggeration of normal bodily stuff or viral activity, but it's initiated by one's own feelings, thoughts, and beliefs.
Okay, feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. And here's where it gets even more provocative. Seth says illnesses often perform certain services.
Perform services, like they have a purpose.
Yeah. They actually help individuals achieve objectives they believe they can't achieve otherwise.
Wow. Okay, can you give an example of how that might work?
Well, Seth clarifies these reasons aren't necessarily buried deep in some complex subconscious trauma you need years of therapy to uncover.
Okay, that's interesting.
He says they often stem from seemingly harmless decisions made at a more superficial level over time. Or sometimes sudden, maybe unacknowledged reactions to life events.
So, like, maybe someone feels stuck in a job they hate?
Right. They feel trapped, subconsciously wishing for an escape, but they don't believe they can just quit or confront the boss or whatever.
So maybe a seemingly harmless thought creeps in, like, oh, I just need a break, even if it means getting sick.
Exactly. And if that thought pattern persists over time, it can manifest physically, maybe as chronic fatigue or migraines, something that serves the purpose of giving them that break.
Without them having to make the conscious, potentially difficult decision to leave or change things.
Precisely. It's a profound reframe, isn't it? It shifts responsibility from being a passive victim to being an inadvertent co-creator of your experience.
Inadvertent is the key word there. It's not about blame.
No, definitely not blame. More about understanding the mechanism. And Seth then goes into the immense power of our beliefs and attitudes, introducing this concept of biologically valid thoughts.
Biologically valid thoughts. Okay, what does that mean? Is it just positive thinking?
Not quite just positive thinking in the usual sense. It's deeper. Just like physical sunlight is vital for life, Seth asserts that sunlit thoughts are biologically necessary.
Necessary, like food or water.
Kind of. He means certain thoughts, optimism, trust, feeling worthy, aren't just nice ideas. They are inherently resonant with our body's natural blueprint for health.
So they actually create beneficial chemical reactions.
Yes, beneficial chemical and electrical responses that promote well-being. They're valid because they align with life's core impulse to flourish.
And he says they're inherited, like genes.
Like the information carried by your genes and chromosomes, he says. They form an internal language that stimulates growth and fulfillment within the body.
Wow, that's powerful.
He highlights this really beautifully, talking about infants. Babies, he observes, are born with astonishing optimism.
Yeah, they just expect their needs to be met, don't they?
Totally. They expect the universe to be on their side. Birth, he says, is experienced as self-discovery, not trauma. Infants typically don't have doubt or fear.
Every creature, Seth states, is born proud of itself and loves itself.
Our default setting.
So what goes wrong then?
Well, the challenge lies in how this innate optimism and self-worth often get inadvertently undermined by beliefs we pick up later. Beliefs that contradict personal safety and well-being.
Like from parents or society.
Exactly. Seth gives an example. A child tells a lie. An adult might label them as a liar. You are a liar.
Instead of separating the action from the person.
Right. Instead of saying something like, you made a mistake, you told a lie, but you yourself are not the mistake or the lie.
That's a subtle but huge difference.
It is. And this societal tendency, emphasizing false modesty, warning against showing off, shaming mistakes, it creates these strong feelings of self-disapproval.
Which, according to Seth, can then impact physical health by eroding that basic biological optimism.
And this leads right into his critique of what he calls the societal battlefield mentality regarding the body.
Ah, yes, the body as a war zone.
Exactly. Society teaches us the body is constantly under threat, susceptible to attack by germs, viruses, diseases.
Foreign invaders.
Right. This narrative keeps us in a perpetual state of war preparedness, promoting fear and doubt, not health and exuberance.
He says people are taught their bodies are like a battleground, and they must always be in a state of battle readiness, or they will be invaded.
It's a deep-seated belief system, he argues, that systematically undermines our natural biological optimism and our body's inherent wisdom.
It really is a powerful cultural narrative, isn't it? Creates constant vigilance, suspicion towards our own bodies, rather than trust.
And it's this very fear, Seth says, that can initiate the process we call illness, ironically bringing about the thing we're trying to fight.
It's a massive reframe. Challenges a narrative we've absorbed almost unconsciously since birth.
Okay, so we've just unpacked these pretty radical ideas. Illness as process, the power of belief, biological optimism. But the natural question is, what about Jane herself?
Right. If health is easy and beliefs are key, why was she so ill?
Exactly. Her story, the crucible where this book was forged, is where these concepts meet the raw reality of human struggle. Let's turn to Rupert's journey now.
Because it's in her day-to-day experiences, documented so meticulously by Robert, that Seth's teachings really come alive, not as abstract philosophy, but as this lived, incredibly personal experiment.
And her physical struggles were just immense, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Robert's notes paint such a vivid picture. Jane was largely bedridden. She had a broken leg that just wouldn't straighten properly. Debilitating bed sores, constant, often excruciating pain.
And her vision problems.
Yeah, her vision fluctuated wildly, making reading one of her great joys and essential for her work extremely difficult.
And beyond the physical.
Robert often notes her deep emotional fluctuations, periods of what he called melancholy, intense fear, and totally understandable impatience with how slow recovery was.
It's such a powerful, raw contrast, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the profound wisdom she was channeling, sometimes just moments later.
It really is. Yet, despite these huge challenges, Robert consistently notes these small, vital improvements.
The micro progresses.
Exactly. Things often overlooked in major illness, but clearly vital for her spirit. evidence that internal work was happening. He mentions her fingers slowly straightening,
Her right arm moving more freely.
left wrist nodules shrinking,
Right.
and that fluctuating eyesight, which Seth actually addressed directly.
Right, he didn't say her eyes were just getting worse.
No, he explained her eye muscles were adapting to new levels of clarity, preparing for better vision even though the process felt uncomfortable, uneven.
Great example of the non-linear nature of healing. It's not always a straight line up.
Not at all. And Robert, being so candid, also noted what he termed guilty self issues in Jane's situation. He sensed a deeper psychological component.
Which Seth then explicitly addressed.
Yes. Seth pointed directly to negative, contradictory beliefs within Rupert that led to self-disapproval. He actually stated that Jane once believed that by reducing her physical activity, by becoming less physically visible,
She could avoid attack.
avoid attack or criticism for her astonishing psychic and mental activities. Sounds like a subconscious attempt to sort of hide her light.
To curtail her physical expression to protect her unique gifts, maybe driven by fear of societal backlash or misunderstanding.
That seems to be the implication. Seth really underscores this by reminding them and us that human beings were meant to express all of their abilities, both mental and physical, and that life is a grand stage of expression.
That's such a powerful insight. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many seemingly minor beliefs we pick up, like don't show off, or feeling ashamed for mistakes, might be quietly shaping our health years later.
Mm-hmm. That idea of separating the act from the self, embracing all of who you are, it's huge.
And Seth offered really practical advice, didn't he? Not just philosophy. For Rupert, but also for anyone struggling.
Very practical. He encouraged gentle physical engagement, like gently massaging the tips of her toes to improve circulation, activate self-healing.
He also advised her to actually talk to her arms and legs.
Not in a silly way, but as a conscious directive to her own body, encouraging movement, flexibility, imagining her healing as easy and natural as her thoughts come and go.
And importantly, not to worry about how it will happen.
Right. Trust the body's wisdom. Don't try to micromanage the healing process rationally.
And on the mental, emotional side, her impatience, for instance.
Seth reframed that completely. Her understandable impatience for quicker progress wasn't a fault. He called it a natural aspect of the healing process.
The propellant.
Yes, a propellant or stimulus to action. He told her to think of that impatience as a friend instead of an enemy.
That's a fundamental shift in perspective on a negative emotion.
Yeah.
Turning it into a driving force.
Absolutely. And he really pushed focusing on joy, concentrating on life's pleasures she truly likes.
Like good food, reading, creative thinking, friends.
Simple things. But Seth explained these weren't just distractions. When truly engaged with and appreciated, these acts would increase those benefits 100-fold. They amplify positive energy.
There was also that fascinating advice about self-image, especially given her condition, the mirror exercise.
Yes. For someone bedridden, likely feeling unwell and unattractive, this was key. Seth advised Rupert to look in the mirror and smile daily.
And even apply lipstick and eyebrow pencil.
Yes, even when she did not want to smile or felt it was pointless. His reasoning was profound. Facial expressions correctly mirror the inner self-image.
So the external act reinforces the internal state.
Exactly. This consistent, intentional practice would influence the entire physical condition, physically reinforcing a positive self-perception, which then ripples into physical healing. It's behavioral psychology meets metaphysics.
Wow. He also addressed the fear and doubt that both Robert and Jane experienced.
Constantly. It manifested in different ways. Robert's own fluctuating eyesight, for instance, or his recurrent dreams of being imprisoned. Seth identified these as remnants of old habits, of doubt and fear.
So what was the antidote?
The suggestion, applicable to any of us facing uncertainty, was simple but powerful. Close your eyes and assure yourself that you can trust your vision of mind and body, and that indeed your purpose will be brought into clear focus.
A mental exercise to override that ingrained negativity, consciously choosing trust over fear.
And he continually encouraged them to embrace what he called the new way.
Which meant?
Living day by day, releasing worries about the future, trusting the body's innate wisdom. Seth constantly reassured Jane internal progress is happening even when it wasn't obvious physically.
And that her entire improvement leads her to anticipate even greater change.
He kept reiterating that core principle, the body can heal itself. You have only to allow it to do so. It's about getting out of your own way, really, removing the mental blocks.
And the dreams. Robert recorded so many dreams, and Seth often interpreted them in the sessions. They seem incredibly important.
They really do. They offer this direct window into the healing process, the shifts in consciousness. Robert's recurrent dreams, for example.
The ones about moving back to a bigger, better version of their old apartment.
Yes, 458 West Water Street or 317 South Elmira Street. Seth interpreted these as symbolizing Robert's own expanded understanding of his creative space, his growing sense of inner freedom.
And the jogging dream.
Right, jogging freely along a river, leaving behind police who represented old, limiting beliefs. These dreams were like concrete visualizations of his internal shifts. Psychological liberation playing out in the dreamscape.
And Rupert's dreams were just as revealing, maybe even more personal.
Definitely. She dreamed of being a joyful child on a swing set, experiencing profound sensuality in a warm bath, freely moving through beautiful landscapes.
Even in a truck cabin.
Which Seth explained represented her body as a vehicle, moving effortlessly and actively again. These weren't just wishful fantasies.
Seth saw them as active healing processes.
Yes, reconnecting her to her early vitality, indicating deep physical progress happening on an inner level, and those small jewels and ornaments she found in dreams.
What did they signify?
The small but highly worthwhile pleasures of daily life she was starting to rediscover, emphasizing the healing power of appreciating simple, mundane joys.
There were even dreams about healing family patterns, right? And ancestral stuff.
Yeah, quite remarkable ones. Dreams involving Robert's father, Dale, appearing younger, wiser, like a guide, and Rupert's mother, Mary, engaging in mutual forgiveness with Jane in a dream.
Wow.
Seth indicated these dream encounters helped resolve deep-seated issues like feelings of shakiness or conflicts around authority linked to those relationships. It shows how personal, even ancestral patterns can be worked through and released, contributing to present well-being.
Like clearing out old energetic baggage that might be unconsciously affecting you.
Precisely. Which brings us nicely into some of the broader implications and really intriguing insights in the book. Seth's teachings here go way beyond just individual health.
They touch on the very fabric of reality itself.
Absolutely. One truly mind-bending idea he presents is the malleability of the past.
Okay, the past isn't fixed.
Not according to Seth. He states quite profoundly, the past and every moment of the past is constantly being changed from the present point of operation.
Changed, not just reinterpreted.
He insists it's an actual alteration of past events. Because, he explains, all events are basically subjective.
Objective, okay.
Imagine your consciousness isn't just passively observing the past, but actively shaping it from your present viewpoint. He uses this incredible analogy.
The cosmic computer keyboard.
Yeah. Your thoughts have an electronic reality, acting almost as if your thoughts strike the keyboard of some giant computer. So when your focus of perception changes now, those seemingly fixed past events literally alter.
Because they aren't objective facts, but subjective constructions built from consciousness.
Exactly. What appears objective is just one specific focus. Change the focus and events change along with it. The implications are just staggering.
It completely changes your relationship with your own history, doesn't it? You're not bound by it in the way you thought.
Not at all. And this creative power, Seth explains, stems from consciousness being pervasive. It's everywhere.
Every living thing is conscious.
Yeah.
Even what is called dead matter possesses its own kind of awareness.
That's the quote. He illustrates it beautifully with Jane's own poem about a nail on the windowsill.
A nail. Conscious.
Well, not conscious like us, obviously. But Seth explained that a nail isn't inert. It does respond to stimuli. It's aware in its own way of the room, of the windowsill, of the temperature.
And its atoms and molecules.
So have their own lively consciousness, constantly performing a dance of remarkable symmetry and rhythm, imbued with its own sense of self-approval.
Self-approval in a nail. It really drives home the point that consciousness isn't just a human thing. It's fundamental to the universe.
An inherent intelligence in everything, around us and within us.
Seth also takes aim at some mainstream scientific and historical narratives in this book, which is another fascinating thread.
He does. For instance, he directly challenges the typical survival of the fittest, brutal depiction of early humans, like in that movie Quest for Fire, which Robert mentions watching.
Seth suggests it wasn't all brutal competition.
No, he posits an inherent cooperativeness in nature that we often overlook. He says humans and animals were close allies, not enemies,
Working together.
in a kind of harmonious dance, learning from each other. He even states that early domestication happened partly because certain animal populations needed a way of controlling their own numbers, so it was mutualistic, not just human conquest.
All species cooperate in unison, he says. That's a radically different picture of our origins. Less brutal, more collaborative.
Completely different. And here's another jaw-dropper challenging history. Ancient longevity.
Ah, yes, people living for centuries.
Literally. Seth reveals that in ancient days, men and women literally lived to ages that would astound you, many for several centuries. And this wasn't just a few exceptions, it was common.
Ow!
Partly, he says, by consciously slowing their aging during deep sleep and maintaining this deep connection to inner knowledge and that biological optimism we talked about.
And their knowledge wasn't written down initially.
No, wisdom was highly valued and transmitted orally through complex songs and stories by individuals known as the speaker, living libraries, basically.
So later scriptures might be compilations from these older traditions.
Compiled and potentially tampered with or misinterpreted over time. Losing some original depth when forced into rigid written form makes you think about the origins of sacred texts differently.
Definitely. Another really interesting social insight from Seth is what you call the social trap of talent.
Right. This pervasive societal belief that if you have high talent, unusual gifts, you should kind of play it down.
Hide your light, basically.
Or even adopt some disability or impediment, Seth suggests, to reduce others' envy or fear. This pressure creates a false humility instead of natural pride.
Don't be a show-off.
Exactly. That childhood message. Seth explains Rupert Jane was deeply affected by this. Beliefs that poets were too sensitive, too fragile, or that being a medium was guilt-inducing for a woman, especially if her partner seemed less successful.
And this internal conflict, this self-sabotage, played into her illness.
That's what Seth implies. He emphatically stresses human beings were meant to express all of their abilities. Life is a grand stage of expression. It applied to Robert, too, with his art.
He felt he had to hide his passion for painting behind needing to earn money.
Right, rather than seeing it as a valid, valuable, creative endeavor in itself. That societal pressure to conform or downplay uniqueness is really powerful.
And finally, there's that poignant insight from Robert about parenthood.
Ah, yes. His evolving understanding through this whole process. He came to see their creative work, the Seth material itself, as their spiritual child.
And their readers.
As their psychological offspring. A profound form of mental rather than physical parenthood.
It really highlights how creative work can be deeply fulfilling, like raising a child, extending beyond traditional roles, finding legacy in the impact you have.
A beautiful testament to a different kind of nurturing and growth.
So as we wrap up this really profound deep dive into the way to health, let's just quickly recap some key takeaways.
Okay.
We've explored this radical shift, haven't we? Moving from seeing disease as an external attack to understanding it as an internal process. Often chosen, maybe unconsciously, and profoundly influenced by our beliefs and emotions.
We've looked at the critical importance of that innate biological optimism, the idea that every part of us is geared towards health, towards exuberance, naturally.
And we've touched on that profound, sometimes challenging connection between our inner world, thoughts, feelings, self-image, and our physical reality.
Emphasizing the body's incredible capacity to heal itself, if only we allow it to, if you can get our limiting beliefs out of the way.
Now, for a final provocative thought to leave you with, this material really hints at this vast hidden knowledge, this healing power within each of us, just waiting to be consciously accessed.
So if, as Seth suggests, your thoughts are literally typing on some giant cosmic keyboard, creating an electronic reality that shapes your past, present, and future.
What programs are you inadvertently running in your own life, in your own health? What subconscious scripts might be playing out?
And maybe more importantly, what single sunlit thought, a thought aligned with trust, with optimism, with self-worth, might you consciously choose to foster today?
Knowing, as Seth insists, that it has biological validity, that it has the real power to reshape your personal reality from the inside out. What inherent wisdom within you are you ready to finally trust?
We really encourage you to reflect on your own beliefs about health, about your personal power. There's maybe some old habits, some negative self-images you could choose to just let go of today.
Could you decide to truly trust your innate biological wisdom, that cooperative nature of the universe Seth talks about, to guide you towards your way to health?
Trust your own vitality. It's your natural state.
Thank you so much for joining us on this extraordinary deep dive.
It's been fascinating. We'll see you next time.